Go back now to that probe in Congress about Russia's alleged hack attacks during the 2016 US election campaign. Donald Trump, who has frequently praised Vladimir Putin, has questioned whether Moscow is to blame. He tweeted a quote from the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange saying a 14-year-old could have hacked John Podesta. Russians did not give him the info. Well, the president-elect is due to be briefed about the hack tomorrow, a briefing he says might have been pushed back to build a case. Well, the intelligence officials were asked today about Julian Assange's comments. This is what they had to say.
General Clapper, I just have to mention the name Mr. Assange has popped up, and I believe that he is the one who's responsible for publishing names of individuals that work for us that put their lives in direct danger. Is that correct?
Yes, he has.
And do you think that there's any credibility we should attach to this individual, given his record of
not in my view.
Not in your view. Admiral Rogers?
I second those comments.
Republican John McCain there. Let's talk to Alina Polyakova, Deputy Director of the Eurasia Center, who joins us from our Washington studio. When Donald Trump eventually meets and gets this security briefing, are you expecting to hear something different from him?
I certainly hope so. It's been very troubling and concerning to watch, as we also heard from the intelligence community in the hearing this morning in Congress. Our president-elect trusting untrustworthy sources like Julian Assange versus our own CIA director and other national intelligence security officers in the United States. I certainly hope that the president-elect will take the comments and the conclusions of his briefing, the schedule for tomorrow, seriously, and maybe come back with a different assessment of the threat that Russia poses to the United States and Western democracy more broadly.
So in your mind, as indeed in the people giving evidence today, there is no doubt whatsoever that Russia deliberately hacked into the Democratic Party and John Podesta's emails to release them?
Well, look, we'll have more information next week as well when the final report will be released to the public. So far, I have no reason to doubt the findings of the CIA and the FBI and the rest of the American intelligence community. I also know that Russia has used very similar tactics in other countries. The U.S. is not the first to suffer from cyber attacks from the Russian government. Countries of Eurasia, Ukraine, the Baltic states, and increasingly Western European countries like Germany have been under attack by Russian-backed hackers. So to me, this is nothing new. This is part and parcel of how Russia seeks to influence politics and policy around the world.
Can this be proved, though, categorically? Is there some sort of electronic fingerprint that you could say, yes, 100% Russia did this?
Look, again, you know, I don't have access to the same kind of information.
I know you don't. But I know you don't, perhaps. But the FBI and the CIA.
Look, I think I trust our intelligence agencies in the United States to make that kind of assessment.
That's a different issue, isn't it? And that is what Donald Trump and his supporters, you know, see as the disconnect, perhaps, here. You trust. A lot of people don't trust, perhaps. And that is why Donald Trump comes out and says something like that. I'm just asking you sort of scientifically. I mean, is it a fact that this can be proved 100%?
Look, based on my conversations with those in the private sector, the tech experts, cybersecurity experts, yes, this can be done, technically speaking. You can track the source of hacking to particular agents, particular actors, and also all the way back to certain government agencies, in this case, the Russian government. We have done this before in the United States, of course, with the Chinese cyber attacks that have hit various U.S. government agencies as well. So from the technical side, there's no question that this can actually be done, and you can speak to any, I think, tech cybersecurity expert on this topic as well who would confirm that.
Just something you said a few moments ago. I mean, you said that, you know, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks wasn't a credible source, and yet, again, Trump supporters would say, but he was right, of course. WikiLeaks was right. A lot of information came out via WikiLeaks, which was embarrassing to the American authorities. And indeed, the Americans are doing exactly what they're accusing Russia of doing as well. You remember President Obama, having that very tricky moment with Angela Merkel after it was disclosed that her personal mobile phone was being bugged by the Americans.
Well, look, part of, I guess, an unfortunate part of how governments, spy on each other is that intelligence services from all countries try to gather intelligence information about each other, about capabilities, etc. This is actually part of doing business in some ways. I think what is different in this case specifically that we're discussing now is it's not just about information gathering, it's about seeking to influence the outcome of a major election in a sovereign state in a Western democracy. And this is profoundly different. And Julian Assange has made it his mission, indeed, to undermine American national security interests in the world. So that when he says that he didn't get the information, the leaked documents directly from the Russian government, I see no reason why we should believe him over the huge findings of the intelligence community in the United States.
And briefly, President Putin's motivation in all of this?
Well, one is to cause chaos. Russian foreign policy of disturbing and distracting and destabilize Western democracies is part of its military doctrine. I think they were probably surprised to the extent to which this recent hack was incredibly effective, at least sowing doubt in our democratic process, perhaps not in swaying the results of the election. We can't say much about that. But, I think the Russians right now, on average, I was just in Moscow a few weeks ago, are just as confused about what a Donald Trump presidency will mean for them. They're just as confused as we are.
Be interesting to see the outcome of that briefing tomorrow. Alina Polyakova, thank you very much indeed for joining us on Global.